when I go to the shows these days, I see a lot of the usual suspects, so to speak, in terms of the fans that come to the show. But I'm also seeing a lot of younger people. Do you guys see like a lot of different types of like new fans and as well as old fans?
Been feeling more multi-generational, which has been really cool. And we encourage anyone listening to this to bring their children. Uh,
The high cost of babysitters, I think.
high cost of
Yeah,
A
babysitters. But
ticket is
no,
cheaper
I
than
think that's what it
babysitter.
is.
but the
I
kids
mean,
are, I mean, there is this thing of like, wait, there's young people again. And it is the generational thing. It's kids in their 20s whose parents listen to us and they grew up listening to us and we're just a band they like. And so that part's been really awesome.
I guess it's okay to like your parents' music these days, unlike when
It
we were
is.
growing up.
So you recorded Dulcinea in 1993 in a place called The Site up in Nicasio. Is that right?
yeah, Nicasio County, right off of Lucas Valley Road in Marin, California.
Just past Skywalker
You were
Ranch.
just over the
Just
hill
past
from Skywalker.
Skywalker Ranch, your
Yeah.
By the
old
way, as I was
stomping
packing,
grounds.
Yeah.
as I was packing, I'm assuming this is yours.
Oh, that is mine.
Because I don't think anyone else has one. Yeah, so if you lost this,
Where did you find that?
but anyway,
Yeah, I'll need that back. No, I'm just kidding. I have like a bunch of them, but yeah, that is true. You're just over the hill from Skywalker. Beautiful country up there in Nicasio, my home away from home. What kind of memories do you have of being there at that? This studio is very remote. It's secluded in the hills. It's sort of in a residence, right?
Well, it was everything that the Fear recording experience wasn't. Completely different.
We had this 4-star chef that
4-star
would make
chef. It
us
was
lunch,
incredible.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was crazy. You know,
It was
big,
crazy.
at the
big
site
major label
in,
budgets back in the day.
Yeah. But it was kind of the opposite of what we had experienced with Fear. But it was a beautiful place. They had a main building with the studio in it, and then it had these cabins on the property, and each of us got a cabin to stay in. So we were all living there for, I don't know, I think we might have been there only about a month. We didn't
It was
have the
like
money
camp.
to go crazy. It was kind of like camp. It was fun. Glenn could get up early and do vocals the way he liked. Usually by the time I would come in, things had been started, but we did a lot of tracking at night in a room that was lit by about 300 of these candles that Gavin had bought from a grocery store near his house, and we tracked a lot of the record live together in this room, and it really was a vibe. And that, I think, that really contributed to the sound of the album and the way that it was played.
and the whole ethos of the album too, going in, with all that pre-production and all that preparation was, we felt like we'd finally become like as a live band, we'd matured. We were kids learning our things. We hadn't been in a bunch of covered bands. And I feel like Dulcinea, we were finally like, we're actually a really good live band. Let's like make an album that sounds like us. This was like 2 guitars, bass, drums, maybe a keyboard. That was the record, like nothing that we couldn't pull off live. And I love how big the record sounds because of how little is on it. And it's
We had also
easy
been playing a lot of these songs before recording it on the previous tour. Like
Yeah,
Fall Down was a song we had written back in the Pale days, and just never made Pale or Fear albums.
how did you decide of all those tracks that you recorded at the site, which would make the album? How do you decide what makes an album from front to back?
There was a lot of going back and forth with the band. We had our A&R guy on the project was Chuck Plotkin, and he was, when he heard it, instead of saying, okay, well, what's the single? Play me the single. He immediately started talking about sequencing. He said, it's a wild stew. You could take people on a lot of journeys, and like what emotionally, like what do you want to be in terms of the waves of the record. And so I think there was a lot of that. I remember all of us like doing a lot of experiments with sequencing, and that was back when you had to also, I don't even know if you could burn a CD then. I think we were still having to like, make
I remember
tapes.
making a cassette tape with each of the songs on a separate cassette. And then I had a dual cassette deck. And I would just it was so time consuming. And I think we all did it to some extent, some crazy way. Back then, things were on vinyl, so you had to fit it all onto a record.
12-inch, yeah.
And so there was a limit back in those days.
Sure.